Hey everybody, Xdesign back again with a continuation to the Photon Blox Plygame Unity tutorials. So we left off with setting up our autosave and working with a bit of brain cloud to kind of get that side working. So now we have the main function of the game, which I want to stress. If you do not know how to make a basic project with Plygame by itself, you should not be doing this. Please learn how to use Plygame pretty fluently, because this isn't very difficult. Because it's pretty well laid out for you. I will explain everything how it works, and you'll see. So basically we left off with just a simple character that can connect online. If I was to hand out this client, all of our characters would be able to play online. Okay, well, the camera wants to tilt a bit on its own, but that's probably because it has a max setting that's bad. Go to our Photon character here and check out the camera setting. Photon camera. That's not the camera. Where is the camera? That's the camera. Max tilt, min tilt. Wait, top down camera, yeah, that's the one I'm supposed to be using. This could be funky behavior due to the large skip in updating, so we'll worry about this a little after. For now, I was recently working on a project. This project was called Unityscape. It was a RuneScape project for Android and iOS. But recently, today, yesterday, Jagex themselves have announced that they are making both their versions of the games for Android and iOS. So I no longer need to do this. So I'm about to share with you guys all the little secrets that I did. So I'm going to load up the project here and explain to you how Photon Blox works and how you can get certain effects to go along with. Because right now you're just pretty much slammed right in doing nothing. You have no attacks, nothing like that. So we'll start from the bare bones while we go through the project. Just wait for the project to load. So we'll rush on into our scene. It looks like a normal project, as you can see. And if you've seen from my little display videos. So all this doesn't really matter too much right now. What we're working on is our player. So let's find our little player prefab here and drop him inside our scene. Inside our scene, we'll press F and we'll check him out. As you can see right now, he's set up practically the same way as our other character in our other scene, just it doesn't have that camera issue. So if you've been waiting since our last video and you've just did some updates and stuff like that, then you have that issue. Just recreate your character from scratch. It'll get rid of that issue. It's just because of the huge gap in updating, I would assume, because I've never had that happen to me before. So don't worry about all those local variables you just seen. Start off by going into our blocks. If you don't have apply blocks, add the apply blocks for one. We have lots of variables here. I've done a bunch of weird things. I use my local variables in a specific way, so like admin and moderator. That's a very important segment that we're going to be capping on. Same with the RPC calls and how those work. But first, let's open up our blocks and talk about some things. So I believe we do set our tag object from own to self in our other server, or project I should say, my bad. It's like 7 in the morning. Here I'm triggering some stuff to set. So if we look into set stuff, I have this nice event going on right here. Get rid of that because it's not needed. I have a lot of blocks, and for some reason the project loaded all laggy. Ay. Sorry guys. Wow. Dude. Okay. So let's just close that. Scroll up. We'll click apply. And it's taking a while, but I gotta save everything and then close Unity and then reload it for a stupid reason. Alright. So this segment's not really about continuing where we left off, more like getting you to understand how Photon Blox works is more like it. It's going to be a lot of explaining. So first we're going to start off with the set stuff. So in our set stuff we're setting a bunch of things here. So with this if photon view, this is mine, so there's nothing inside that area, the yellow field, so it just uses this as this game object. You would only use this in terms of getting the photon view of that object. So when it comes to a player, you want to use this on this object, if you're on this object, to only get your object and not your other object, which is your remote, because you don't always need to send information to your remote character. That would just be a waste of bandwidth if you were sending absolutely everything and it's not needed, right? So in this, if everything belongs to me, all this stuff is going to be set. So we're going to disable the character, we're going to set the player name to player name. The reason why we're doing this is so that the Plygame's character object name is the same thing as the online's player name, so this way when you target a player online, it shows their name and not like some random object clone or whatever. Set player name. There's that. I did this set local player if you want to set local player, but that turned out to be useless if you just use the photon view is mine properly. It's not really needed. Some of this stuff isn't exactly needed. Like this is part of my trade status. So like let's say if I log out and I log in and it's saved information, it's gonna clear all that information so that I can't try to like dupe something. You know what I mean? Like things like that. You kind of think of these things as you're going, really. And now this else if is if it does not belong to you. You can it'll check if Photon views player tag object, which is similar to you, but it's you and your remote object. It's both of you. This can work 50% of the times depending on how you use it, because it is confusing the way it works, this particular player tag object block. For the most part, that's what it does. Is it gets both you, your main, like what's on your client, and then your remote object, which receives your data and follows your movements. It's what other online players would see. That's when you would trigger event set remote name. So it's gonna set the remote name. So it's set actor name on self to player name. See, like that's why I'm setting the local value for player name. So this way, if this player object is my representative, it'll set its name automatically. I didn't try to delete anything or anything. Why is it? Okay, there we go. So with most of that said and done, that's pretty simple. I have like an on actor make selection. This is how I like target for a RuneScape style combat. Basically, I have a trade mode and I have a drop mode. If any of those are active, it will not do an attack. It'll do that kind of stuff. Like it won't try to attack the player that I'm trying to trade with. It'll target the player and try to trade. Basically, it's just a series of if-thens within each other and else's. So if range is true, else. If magic is true, else. If combat stance equals 1, else. Well, then do this. And it's a long thing, but really everything's happening in the photon view this is mine. So no matter how you were to do this, as long as it works and you put it together that it worked, this is why I say you needed some Plygame skills, because it's really just on how you want to do things and getting it to work. It's your imagination and your mind, right? You just gotta if-then things properly. I'm gonna say that a lot because it's a big thing. And your on actor clear selection would do similar stuff. To restore your character, you would restore your character normally, but you would use the player tag object to make sure that you're getting both you and your remote object to do the restore. You're setting the world position plus you're restoring at the same time. Dropping loot, this is so that if you die, you drop loot. Basically, if you were to put if this is not equal mine, basically if it doesn't belong to you, you can only drop on the network. So it means to everybody else will get it. There currently isn't a proper way to sync items over the network, so we're not gonna be touching up on that anytime soon. You will just kind of do it all client-sided, because you can sync them to the network. It's just having, like, let's say I pick up one on the other clients, it's not being picked up at the same time, so that's a problem, right? Yeah, that's a problem. In our on actor restored, we are setting our layer of self to 19. If we look at our layer up here, let me shrink this a bit. Layer 19 would be NPC and player. So if we go to add layer, 19 is NPC. The reason for this is that you can target other people properly. Yeah, that's what it is. Because your attacks go based off of the layers and as well as your faction. So if your factions are player to player safety, right, but you're in a PvP zone, and you switch to another faction that's that's not player to player safety, but but your faction is player technically because of that layer. Recent updates, that has been like added automatically, so you don't have to worry about it per se. I just kind of left it there doing its thing in case it needed that extra push, but for the most part I had him add it. I don't know how to say his name, so I'm not even going to attempt his name, but I'll put it in the comments. The creator of Photon Blox. Now, when you're casting attacks, I was showing you how I was casting attacks inside the player not long ago. In the on actor select, I'm pretty much just let self use skill, and inside our skills here, on our on skill hit, we're going to crossfade this way it happens on both of us. You don't need to do an if then. In the on skill hit, depending on how you're going to do your damage, when it's online, it's actually best to trigger an event damage in the hit object and send param1, the skill owner, as game object, which would be the attacker in this case, so who this is of this event. And we will also set the selected of hit object as game object to skill owner, because this way when you attack it, let's say even if you have a hack and slash kind of game, you want that monster to automatically start attacking you as fast as possible. So basically this is the best way to do it. As soon as it gets hit, it's going to be set to target you. It's going to rotate and start walking to you or just attacking if it's close enough, however that works for it, right? That's a basic skill. Now I want to explain how RPCs work quickly, and then we'll end the video. In the next tutorial, we're going to go into actual work on the current project we will build to help you build in your skill. So we have some RPC local variables. These are RPC events. Basically, when you go into Ninjutsu Games, Photon, and RPC your method, I have 3 RPC events that are setting different things. This is remote to player set local variables, so this is going to happen on the remote. This is the remote to player 2. No, this is player to remote 2, and this is player to remote. So basically, if these settings are set, they will be set. It's more difficult than it sounds here. I gotta show you the onlate update here. Where is it? Down here. So we're calling the blocks to view, which is the RPC event. So this RPC event would be the player to remote set local variables, and we're going to send local variable param1 and 2 with player name and trade mode as string and boolean. Now when we go to that event, we're just setting these to those attributes from the onlate update. But as you can see in the onlate update, I have a timer. RPC call timers, run after timers. If you have RPCs calling as fast as the on late update, it causes errors and bog up because it's casting too many things at one time, and the server can't push them out enough to the people, so there's going to be a lot of lag, or and syncing isn't going to be good, all that other stuff. So you'll, depending on how much you're casting, would depend on and what you're casting and how often you think you need that to cast, would be the lower number. So this is something that didn't need anything more than 3 seconds, but then this is something that needed to be at least 2 seconds or less. It can't really be less than 2 seconds, because then that's sending it too fast still anyway. So 2 seconds is about the minimum you'd ever really want to have your RPC going. Again, you could have RPCs going off different ways. I have a really dry voice right now, sorry guys. But an RPC can go off not just via the on late update with a routine timer, making sure that it doesn't flood the server's command call list. You can put it in other like things, then just have it update when you do something. So let's say you cast a command in your command log, and it's to change the target that you're selected in game to a moderator, right? It's gonna set that target to a moderator, and every where is it? It's right here. And every 5 seconds, it's gonna go from the remote to the player, and it's gonna send information about the admin and moderator data, so that it'll match. So if I was to set you to moderator, after 5 seconds, you on your client would automatically receive the data of being set to moderator. That's why we're in the else statement of the if is mine. As you see, the if is mine, that's the else statement at the bottom, so that's not mine. It belongs to the remote client version of my character. That's the biggest thing really, is that you have you and then your remote version of you, and you want you to send data and receive data between the two of you properly. So like everything you do in between that is pretty similar, just if let's say you're not using your player character, like you're using your UI, which this would actually be a great way to show you guys on your UI. But for example, let me delete this, save. Everything in your UI will have player tag object is mine. That's what you're going to use for an entire UI design. And basically each panel is its own panel. We have the bag, I have my toggles, I have my button list. So if I was to show you what my slot looks like here, I'm using extra blocks plus itmars's get child index of block, which is super helpful that he helped make that. But basically on enabled, if the screen is enabled, I will set this image, do this, and it's gonna grab the index of itself, of the parent. So if this is, since this is button 1, the index it's returning is 0. If it was button 2 in the list, the index would be returning 1. And this is going to happen. And then when you click on the button, we have our use statement, which is again being done with our Photon player tag object is mine. Here we have our if statement that checks to see if there is an item in the bag. If there is an item in the bag, which is the else, so it's checking if there's not. If there is, which else, it's going to check the trade mode and the drop mode. If they're false, it'll let us do equipable selectable, so it'll detect whether or not the item is an equipable item or a selectable item, and then it'll either use the item because it's a selectable, or it'll set selected item. So if selectable equals false, but equipable equals false, it uses the item. But if equipable or selectable equals true, then it'll either equip or it'll set the selected item in your inventory so that you can do something with the item. And then so on and so on. We're continuously going. We're checking to see if equip slot in string equals head, then we'll set an object equip item as string, but that's only if there is a item in the slot, basically. So that's what we're checking for the most part. If equip slot equals one of these things at any point in time, it's going to directly just skip and add to the equip slot and equip to your character physically. Again, all this stuff can be done however you want, as long as you are properly using the if photon view player tag object is mine, or if photon view is this is mine. That's a basic panel. That one button can be duplicated 1,000 times and it'll work with no more modifications done the one time. You could use that button for the banks and everything like that. You would just modify it to get the bag component from a different object instead of the player tag object, as you know what I'm saying. In my case, I had the bank put into a child object of the player, so technically I have two bags on the player, but one's just a bank. And then I just kind of get the child object bank, and then get the component like you normally would get the bag object, and it works flawlessly. That's how my bank system here is made. I believe this video has been long enough, and I've kind of explained the generals of how this works for the most part. Sorry, I just had a really itchy face. But yeah, thanks for watching. If there's any questions at all, feel free to ask them in the comments. Like, comment, subscribe. Xdesign 101 is out.